Fatherhood. Hey, and we're back. So this is just going to look at more one-step equations. The difference here is that all of these have to do with either multiplying or these ones down here are dividing. So if we look up here just to kind of start, we could start with a negative one. So when you see negative 9x equals 108, I think it's really good right now to put in a dot between them to show the multiplication. So we can even spread it out. Negative 9 times a number makes 108, right? And some of you are thinking right now I could use my fact families to figure out what that number is, right? So negative 9 times the number makes 108. So I could work backwards. That would certainly work, right? So whatever you got to do once you read it to make sense of how to find that number, you do it. Um, if you were stuck and you didn't know what to do, right? Basically, the idea is you want to get that x by itself, right? The goal is always to figure out what is the variable worth. So if I want to get this alone, right, I'm thinking about negative 9 times a number. So I'm going to try to undo that negative 9 times a number, right? So instead of working forwards, because I can't, I don't know what x is, I'm going to work backwards, right? So I'm going to divide the whole thing by negative 9, right? So if I have negative 9 divided by negative 9, right, anything divided by itself makes 1, which is what I want. I want 1x. Anything I do to one side, I do to the other. 108 divided by negative 9, positive divided by negative, and then 108 divided by 9 is 12. And so essentially what you're going to see is like this is called inverse operations, and it's sort of like a backup option, I guess. If you can't think through how to solve the equation, then you can work backwards, right? The only rule is anything you do to one side, you do to the other, right? And the goal is just to get that x alone. For division, it's going to look a little different, but similar, I guess. So here, what's happening? X is being divided by negative 7 to make positive 8, right? So if you wrote it out, you could potentially use that finger trick. A number divided by negative 7 makes 8, right? Coupled with fact families to predict that the number would be negative 56, right? So negative divided by a negative makes a positive, right? 56 divided by 7 makes 8. Um, or, so another option could be to use inverse operations. So if I'm dividing a number by negative 7, right? So I can cover that up. What could I do instead of dividing it by 7 to kind of work backwards and essentially make that x whole? So this could be option 1. Option 2 could be instead of dividing by negative 7, right? You want to undo that. So it's sort of that inverse. You're going to multiply by whatever it is that you're dividing by, right? So when I multiply something and then divide it right back, I end up in the same place. So they cancel out. Anything I do to one side, I do to the other. And then 8 times negative 7 would still give me negative 56, right? So if I wrote it out, it would just kind of look like this. X equals 8 times negative 7. And some of you might see the connection here between this and this. This is going to give you negative 56. So the biggest thing is, however you're thinking about this, just be comfortable going back and being able to check your work, right? So subbing to check is probably the most important thing in 6th grade, besides just being able to read what's actually happening, okay? You're going to do great.